Hello children, in the last video we had discussed nutrition. Now today we shall be discussing our respiration. What is respiration? Taking in of oxygen and utilizing this oxygen for the breaking down of food, thus releasing energy. Then what is breathing? Taking in of oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. That is inhalation of oxygen and exhalation of carbon dioxide. Now let us discuss an activity that is 6.4. This activity proves that exhaled air contains more amount of carbon dioxide. We need to take two test tubes and label them A and B. In both the test tubes, we need to take the same amount of freshly prepared lime water, that is calcium hydroxide. Into the first test tube, that is test tube A, we need to push in air with the help of a syringe, and in test tube B, we need to blow air through our mouth with the help of a glass rod. After some time, we see both the test tubes turn milky, but the test tube B turns milky first and test tube A turns milky at a later time. What does this prove? This proves that more amount of carbon dioxide is present in exhaled air. Now let us discuss activity 6.5. Activity 6.5 proves that carbon dioxide is released during fermentation. Now what is fermentation? Yeast acts upon sugar and forms alcohol and carbon dioxide, and also a small amount of energy is released. Now here we need to take two test tubes and label them A and B. In the first test tube, we need to take fruit juice and add a pinch of yeast. And in the second test tube, freshly prepared lime water is to be taken. Both the test tubes have to be, mouth of both the test tubes have to be closed with a 1-hole cork, and both the test tubes have to be connected to each other with a delivery tube. This experimental setup has to be kept for some time. After some time, when we view it, we see that the test tube B, lime water, turns milky. The reason is due to the release of carbon dioxide during fermentation. So this activity proves that carbon dioxide is released as a result of fermentation. Now, we need to know, once again, discuss respiration. Respiration can happen in presence of oxygen or absence of oxygen. Respiration that happens in presence of oxygen is known as aerobic respiration, and respiration that happens in absence of oxygen is known as anaerobic respiration. Here, let us see the differences between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration, once again, it happens in presence of oxygen, while anaerobic respiration happens in absence of oxygen. Now, aerobic respiration happens in normal cells, that is, to be specific, in mitochondria, while anaerobic respiration happens in yeast and sometimes in muscle cells. Aerobic respiration, in case of aerobic respiration, the end product is carbon dioxide, water, and along with that energy is also released. But in case of anaerobic respiration, the end products can be either lactic acid or ethanol, carbon dioxide, water, and a small amount of energy is also released. In case of aerobic respiration, more amount of energy is released. That is 38 molecules of ATP is released. While in case of anaerobic respiration, only a small amount of energy is released. That is 2 molecules of ATP. Thus, we have discussed the differences between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Now, food. Let us go back to nutrition. Food is completely digested, absorbed and assimilated into the blood. Now, where does this food then go? What is its destination? It is taken to each and every cell in our body. Now, who else comes there? Oxygen also is brought in there through blood. This oxygen acts upon the food and energy is released. So, now let us see the various pathways that are followed in the breakdown of glucose. Glucose is the substrate, which is a 6-carbon respiratory substrate, which is a 6-carbon molecule. That is C6H12O6. This 6-carbon molecule is broken down to a 3-carbon molecule known as pyruvate. This reaction takes place in cytoplasm. Along with pyruvate, a small amount of energy is also released. This first step is common to all the 3 other pathways. Now let us see what happens in yeast. In yeast cells, this pyruvate is broken down to a 2-carbon molecule called ethanol. Along with that, carbon dioxide is released, water and energy is released. Now let us see what happens in muscle cells when there is lack of oxygen. This pyruvate is converted to another 3-carbon molecule called lactic acid. Along with that, carbon dioxide is released and energy is also released. Now in normal cells, that is in the mitochondria, this pyruvate is broken down to carbon dioxide, water and energy is also released. Thus we have seen the breakdown of glucose in various pathways. Now what is the full form of ATP? ATP means adenosine triphosphate. It is known as the energy currency of a cell. ATP is also used for various purposes such as contraction of muscles, protein synthesis and various other activities. Now let us see what happens in plants. In plants, the direction of diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide depends on the environmental condition. The carbon dioxide that is formed during respiration is utilized for photosynthesis, or the carbon dioxide that is released during respiration is utilized for photosynthesis. During the daytime, main activity is photosynthesis and carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is released. But at night, stomata close and the reverse happens. Oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is released. So, it is advised that we should not sleep under the trees because carbon dioxide is released during the night time.